Hello everybody, transfer deadline day is nearly upon us, just over 24 hours until the window shuts as we record this. My name is Dan Wimbush, editor of thetilehurst.com. I'm delighted to be joined by the man floating in the bubble above the little Patreon logo over there. It's Mr. Olly Allen, our assistant editor. Olly, thanks for joining me on this joyous evening. The tension is ramping up. It's like getting ready to open those presents tomorrow.
Yeah, very, very excited to see what tomorrow brings. I think we know a couple of things, like Jacob South, Quinn and Bushes,
yes.
But other than that, very, very unexpected day ahead, I think.
Absolutely, and Reading seems to have money to spend as well, which always makes me slightly uneasy, but it should make for a much more exciting day. Anyway, let's get right to it. Let's have a look at what we've done so far this window, Olly. We can have a look at the ins and outs, the major arrivals and departures from the summer so far. Looking through that list of the players that have arrived and left, key question here, are Reading stronger than they ended last season?
I would say we're massively stronger, no, but at the same time, I don't think we're massively weaker either. I think we've sort of replaced like for like. I think Minone and Al-Habsi is sort of on par. I think Williams has been sort of replaced efficiently with a combination of Leandro Bacuna and Dave Edwards, perhaps. But I think none of the arrivals sort of jump out at me and say they're massive upgrades on what we had last season. But I certainly don't think we've lost any quality, and we've sort of added depth to the squad, I think.
I think the forward department is looking a lot stronger. If you look at the three sort of main names to have left, Lewis Graben, who left at the end of his loan, Dennis Rackles, who's gone out on loan, and Dom Samuel, the League One goal machine that he is withstanding. And then you replace that with Bod Varson, Mo Barrow and Sonny Aluko. They're three players that all bring something different to the striking department. And it's just a shame that Jan Kermgant's dealing with an injury as well, because if you add Jan to that mix, it's a real good battery of forwards.
Yeah, I think, and you're still forgetting Joseph Mendes as well, who I'm not really quite sure where he fits into all of this. But yeah, certainly I think
on the bench, Olly, he fits in on the bench.
On the bench. Certainly Mo Barrow's been very, very impressive so far. Sonny Aluko comes with a big price tag, big expectations, and of course John Daly Varson got his first goal at the weekend. So very promising signs.
Yeah, and like you say, Williams was the big loss. He's kind of been replaced by this tandem of Bacuna and Edwards as well. Edwards was one that slightly surprised me. I didn't see that one coming. Where do you think he fits in to the mix? Do you think that he is that part of a tandem, or do you think he'll bring something in his own right?
I was reading the Townend this morning from the Wolves fan that we spoke to about him, and he sort of said he's not really sure that he'd fit into Stam's systems currently. And so he's not quite sure why Reading signed him, but obviously he must have a position for him. And obviously he's much more of an attacking field, but not one who's like, because we know Williams was very good at his driving runs into the box, but apparently Edwards isn't that great at that. It would be more likely just to spray the passes out wide. I think I personally wouldn't put him in straight away, but I think he's sort of a bit like George Evans, but a bit of an upgrade on George Evans probably.
Yeah, hopefully. Not that, I've been vocal on the Tilehurst podcast and stuff of asking questions of Evans, hoping he kind of steps up. And to be fair to him, the last couple of games, he's got 2 goals, so you can't ask for much more than that. So he's shown some fight, he's showing some determination. And what I think this does, and you look at the 7 names that have come in, and hopefully maybe a couple more, gives that real competition. People like Gareth McCleary are now going to have to be at the top of their game. Roy Behrens, Joe Vandenberg, Evans, all of these players are really going to have to work hard. There is suddenly no guaranteed spot. Even John Swift, who's dealing with an injury, and you would say, massive new contract, key player, he's going to have to fight for his place as well, and that can only be a good thing.
Absolutely, yeah. I think certainly this summer's really been about adding more depth to the squad. I think obviously we started the season with so many injuries, and we had youngsters on the bench and everything, but now the squad's looking really, really strong. And as you say, you've got the likes of Gareth McCleary and John Swift, who were regulars last season, but now have got really fight for their places thanks to new arrivals.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to mention those pushing from the academy, the likes of Renamota, players like that who have shown that they can step up when needed with some good little performances in the League Cup as well. So great to see all that competition. Hopefully it's going to drive things forward. But it is the deadline day tomorrow. That's why we're doing this show. Still time for Stam to get some deals done. What is the big priority area for you tomorrow, Olly?
I think most fans would probably agree it's definitely a striker. I think we brought in Aluko yesterday. I'm not so sure he can fulfil that central striker role. He'll probably play more out wide, but I think certainly the striker. I think Stam's even said it himself that's the priority. I think Nelson Oliveira is probably the number 1 target. Jordan Hugill, Nucky Wells, also a couple of names that have been linked as well.
Yeah, there were certain rumours flying around yesterday, including one of Garner's latest call-ups.
Yeah.
So there is no shortage of names in the frame here. But I mean, is Oliveira that number one for you? Is he the best out of all the names that have been mentioned? Is he the one that would float your boat in the striker department?
Probably out of all the names that have been mentioned, I think I was looking at his goal scoring records online earlier, and it's not actually as impressive as you probably would think for a player that's been hyped up a lot. He's obviously started this season quite well. I think he's got 3 goals in 4 games so far. But I think wherever he's been previously, prior to Norwich, he's not had a massive goal scoring record. But I think I don't think any of the strikers we've been linked with, apart from Nucky Wells, really has consistently scored in the Championship. I know Jordan Hugill only really started scoring last season consistently. One name I thought about, which hasn't really been linked to Reading, but I know is available, is Dwight Gale at Newcastle.
Yeah, I see Fulham have made a bid for him today. Yeah,
I think he knows where the back of the net is. He scores goals. He scored goals for fun last season. He did it in the Premier League for Crystal Palace as well. So I think it's unlikely we're going to get him, but I think he's certainly named that he's certainly available, and he'd be my choice. But I think Nelson Oliveira would be more than good enough.
Yeah, I think he's going to be out of Reading's price range. I see Newcastle are trying to quote 20 million. I think they paid, 10 to 12 for him? So they're certainly not going to take a loss on him, especially with their lack of options up front. So I think that one's possibly out of our price range. But then I would have said 7.5 million. The reported fee for Sonny Luco was miles out of our range. So, what do I know? I mean, we'll touch on that briefly. Do you think Reading have spent all the money they've got? Do you think there's money left in the pot? And more importantly, do you think they should be spending it?
I think it's really, really unknown to us. I think 1 minute we're sort of saying we should be tight with money, and then the next minute we find out we've got 7.5 million to splash out on a 28-year-old forward. I think I've absolutely got no idea where we stand. Obviously, the Chinese owners, is this just a sort of a gift in a sense? Are they willing just to put this money in? Is it a loan that they're going to want back? It's very, very difficult to know where we stand sort of in the finances at the moment.
Absolutely. And, I'm a naturally cautious person. If you've listened to the podcast over the years, you'll know that I hold my hands up and say, unfortunately, I'm one of those glass half empty people. But, I look at a club and I look at the turnover and, over the years I've been running this website, I've looked at the finance and details. It's scary because we're into that realm now where we're totally dependent on the generosity of our owners because there's no other way. The club isn't generating enough money to spend 7.5 million on a striker plus all the rest of the money we've spent. It is totally dependent on the owners. And if they're treating this like a plaything and they're throwing money at us, great. I love it. I'm happy. Please spend your money on this football club. Don't get me wrong, but once bitten, twice shy. We saw what happened with Anton spending money and then he didn't back it up long term. So I'm a little bit nervous, but look, you can only give people the benefit of the doubt. And for now, the Chinese owners are showing what they want for this club and showing their ambition. So hopefully that'll continue. Going back to Oliveira, I'd love to see him arrive at the club. Jordan Hugill scored that fantastic goal against us for Preston the other day. I thought he looks very good. Lot of potential there. You think he's certainly not peaked. 25 years old. Oliveira, has he got that hunger and drive coming to Reading? Maybe. Not so sure. He certainly seems like he wants a move. But so does Hugill. He's handed a transfer request, but Preston's saying they're not prepared to sell him. Whether this is, gamesmanship from, both players and clubs, you just never know what the angles are. We'll certainly find out in the next 24 hours or so. But one of the other random rumours, as mentioned, we had Edwin Gyasi. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Edwin. Who's currently playing out in Norway. He came through Ajax's youth system, which is, I suppose, where the Reading link comes from. As mentioned, just called up to the Ghana squad. And a rather one from left field, I should say right field, Glenn Johnson, Ollie.
Yeah, I think it was the Chronicle that reported that yesterday, saying that media in Stoke.
Yeah, media in Stoke.
So media in Stoke, which I can't seem to find anywhere. But I'm not too sure about that one. I think we've got Chris Ganton, we've got Tanai Watson as a backup, and I know Bakuna can play there as well. I'm not so sure. I doubt it's true, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't be a massive fan of that.
Hey, look, if Gunn's picked up a big injury, I'd be more than happy to have him here. Or if he was maybe a year or two older and had sort of played a couple of years in the Championship, I think he'd be that sort of Chris Makin figure that we had in 2005, 2006 that could play on either wing-back position, fill in, do jobs, a bit like Andy Griffin as well. But at this stage in his career, I think he's got 1 or 2 years left where he'll want to be playing regular football. And I don't think that it's the priority area, and I don't think he's so much of an upgrade on Gunter. Certainly at left back, he's always been a kind of a fill-in left back. So, look, if the deal was right and the wages were low and the motivation was there for him, cool. But yeah, I don't really see that one happening. But let's have a look at what we have got for the time being. We've had a go at picking our ideal Reading sides based on the players we have available once they're all fully fit as well. Ollie, let's talk us through your team first. You've gone for the 4-3-3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm actually probably say I'm more of a fan of the 5-3-2, but there's just so many midfield players and so many more attacking options now that I think one of those defenders is probably going to have to sacrifice. And So Manone in goal, Chris Gunter right back, Abita left back, Moore and McShane in the middle, midfield three of Bakuna, Kelly and Swift, and then Bonfasten up top with Barrow and Aluko either side of him.
Yeah, I really like the look of that team. I mean, the threat you've got from those three, there's a lot of creativity, there's a lot of power and pace and running and physical strength up there. It's a really good mix of forwards. You kind of almost want to combine those three into a two, and if you did, you'd have two really great strikers. But between the three of them, they'll cause so much threat. I do worry, looking at that team, it might be a little bit lightweight through the middle. I know Bakuna can do that role, but with Kelly and Swift in there as well, I do worry, especially sort of away from home, that could be a side that could get overrun. But I mean, this is a slightly unfair exercise because you can't imagine he is going to play exactly the same team away and at home. I mean, we'll switch over to my team now. I have gone for the 5-3-2, and if anything, maybe mine's a little bit more conservative. I've put Thiago Ilori into my back three. I've given Dave Edwards the start as the holding man alongside Kelly and Swift, and then I've got Aluko just behind Bodvarsson. My sort of thinking here is that whilst Edwards is the defensive midfielder, he is someone that likes to maraud forward a little bit more and can sort of make that attacking five unit, even if his priority is shielding that back line. Jordan Abita is going to be a really big plus when he comes back as well. I know Tyler Blackett had a good game at Birmingham, but we saw in those final few games last season what Abita could do when he's fully on form. So hopefully he gets back fit. But it was so difficult leaving Mo Barrow out of my team. I just couldn't find a slot for him in my starting 11. But I've got an article that's going to be coming out tomorrow morning on deadline day saying how Barrow is really bringing that excitement factor back to the club. And I really like what Stam's doing with the side.
Yeah, there's so many different options. I think if you ask 10 Reading fans, they might give you 10 different lineups. I think, and that's really only a good thing. I think also as well as Barrow, there's Popper, McCleary, Behrens, Evans, Vandenberg, all
Jan Kermigan
in those lineups. Jan Kermigan is obviously going to come back from injury soon, but yeah, there's just so many options. I think it is in a good position. I think.
Absolutely, and like I say, I think that is the big thing about this transfer window. There are so many different combinations. Again, I'm going to say it in my article, but it's not just plan A anymore. There's plan B, there's plan C, there's plan D. Loads of different plans, and it's a nightmare for opposition managers as well, because before you could sort of say, well, I sort of know the 11, 12 names that are going to be in a Reading lineup. Now, there are genuinely 15, 16, 17 names on any given match day that Stam can pick, so he's already done a great job. But going back to the deadline tomorrow, if they don't get another player in the door, be it Hugh Gill or Oliveira or anybody else, what is your view of this team's potential and where they should be realistically looking to finish?
I think definitely. I think top six at least now is the minimum requirement. I think especially after we spent $7.5 million on Sonny Aluko, which absolutely smashes our transfer record.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of pressure now, almost to recoup that money. I think a lot of people yesterday were saying it's fine that we're spending $7.5 million on Aluko, but because if we get promoted, then that's peanuts, really. But I think that is the if now. We need to get promoted if we're going to get that money back. I think I remember sort of a similar feeling 2 years ago when we signed Ola John, Lucas Piazon, and Mate Vidra in the last couple of the transfer window. And a lot of people were saying it's sort of promotion or bust now. And obviously we started very well and then flopped pretty much. But I think we do need to be making the playoffs at least once again.
Yeah, I think what I like about this window compared to that window is whereas we got a lot of players in, I think we may have signed where we had 7. Was it 7 or 6 loanies?
Hector, Piazon, John,
yes,
Taylor. Yeah, it was about 6, I think.
Yeah, there was a lot more unknown about those signings compared to everybody we've seen to sign this window, with the possible exception of a Pella Clement, has been tried and tested. So there should be that bit more security. I mean, we watched Sonny Aluko just a few weeks ago, and he worked tirelessly for 10 men for 90 plus minutes. So they can do the same again. You can see the type of players he's signing as well. What I like about them is they're all hard workers. There's no shirkers. And I like the signing of Edwards as well, because he's got that experience. He's been at the top end of this division and other divisions. He knows what it takes. And we just needed that little bit of experience. The same with Aluko as well. 2 experienced players to really add to that young core of the likes of Moore and Swift and Kelly. So, you know, I don't want to get too carried away, because, look, until they go out and do it, who knows? But for now, I agree with you. Even if they got nobody else in, I would say the minimum expectations is a strong word, but the minimum hope is you've got to be in that top 6 mix going into the final 3 or 4 games of the season. Top 2, though, Ollie, is that dependent on this striker, or is this a squad that's strong enough as it is now to fight for a top 2 spot?
I think probably it's a little bit far-fetched for the current squad. I think if you look at the other teams in the division, I think they've made some... I know Reading have made some good signings over the last couple of days, but Hull have signed Nua Dicko and someone else this morning who I can't remember the name of. But
they're going for Dwight Gale.
Yeah, and that if you look at the money being spent, I know Reading is spending 7.5, which is a lot for Reading, but if you look around the Championship, there's more than that being spent on players. I think Fulham have added quality. I know Villa were poor when they came to the Medeski, but I think they're only going to improve. I think, and Middlesbrough and Cardiff have got 5 wins out of 5, so it's difficult. I think we should certainly be getting in the top 6, but I think the top 2 is probably a bit far-fetched at the moment. If we bring Oliveira in, we might be able to have a tilt with it, but I just think, especially with our current away record as well, I think going away to those big teams might be a little bit of a struggle. So I think top 2, for me, it's probably a bit far-fetched.
Yeah, I think looking right now, they're still missing that magic player, the one that's going to drag you through those hard games and get you that goal. And they've got lots of players that can do it, and hopefully, the sum of the parts will add up to that star player. But right now, there's not that, that Newcastle had last season with Dwight Gale, or even, Brighton with a Knockaert. We saw it in the past with QPR and Taarabt, and Reading in 2012 with Jason Roberts. There's not that one player that you go, he's going to be the difference maker. That is the guy that's going to turn us into a top 2 side. So hopefully Yap can get that man tomorrow, or if not, somebody sticks their hand up, be it a Kelly, be it a Swift, be it a Bodvarsson, a Barrow and a Luco, stands up and goes, I'm dragging this team up by the bootstraps myself.
Well, I think last season, obviously, Kermagant got 18, 19 goals, but I think last season what epitomised the team was they were just great as a squad.
Yeah.
They had such great team spirit, and that's what took us all the way to Wembley. And they might have to rely on that again, but as you say, there is certain quality in the squad, and there's players who will have amazing games, like Barrow or Luco might have 1-star game, but whether they can do it over the whole season, I think we might see different players pop up at different times, like Kermagant had. Kermagant was pretty, well, not poor, but he wasn't great before the turn of the year last season. But then it was an absolute fire from sort of February onwards. I think we could see sort of players popping up in different spells.
Yeah, and we'd be amiss not to talk about players that could potentially leave the club tomorrow, because as much as we talk about the depth and how much we enjoy that, there's just not enough places to go around. If you look at that squad and you look at the players pushing from the academy, we've got an article up from Jack Simpson on the website today. I'll read you the 5 names he's picked out in his own personal opinion of players that he thinks might be available. Stephen Quinn, Callum Harriott, Sandro Vessa, Joseph Mendes and Sam Smith. Certainly think Smith's certainly more of a loan than a permanent deal, but the other 4... You've got to say, you can see Jack's logic. You could make an argument for all 4 being let go.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for Callum Harriott, to be honest. I think he showed promising signs when he played last year. He got 2 in the cup against MK Dons and scored that bullet against Norwich on Boxing Day as well, and then got injured in the game that got called off against Fulham, and then was ruled out for the rest of the season. Got re-injured himself, and in that time in the transfer window, we've brought in Aluko, we've brought in Barrow. And obviously Popper's coming more into play now as well. So he's suddenly found himself behind Popper, Aluko, Barrow, McCleary, Behrens in the pecking order. and he'll probably thinking, look, I hope that Yapstam saw potential in him when he played. I think Callum Harriott will be wondering sort of why has Yap gone out and bought all these options when I'm still available.
Yeah, I could see Harriott maybe being loaned out. I think I find it hard to see Roy Behrens having a long-term future here. So I could see this as a scenario where they loan out Harriott, let him get his fitness and a regular run of games, and then bring him back next season. I agree with you. He's been a bit hard done by, and injuries have played a big part. So I don't want to see him go. I love Stephen Quinn. Everybody knows I love Stephen Quinn. If you've paid any attention to our podcast, you'll know that. So I feel really sorry for Quinn if he is the odd man out. But for whatever reason, whether it's the injuries, it seems that Yap doesn't particularly fancy him. Sandro Vesa, I still do not know why they signed him. So sorry. And Yap himself says Sandro. He said Sandro can leave. It's just a case of whether anyone's going to buy him. I think didn't he get like a 3-year deal?
I think possibly. I've got absolutely no idea. It's just one of those. It's a bit like Paulo Hurtado. Obviously, eventually left this summer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm baffled by that signing.
Yeah, and Joseph Mendes, again, I think that will be dependent on if they get another striker in. I think they'll let him go, probably on loan or permanently. He seems a bit of a Matthew Monse to me, in someone that's, he had his cult moment, same as Monse had against Millwall, but, over a longer period of time, that seems more of a flash in the pan. He's in his mid to late, getting towards his late 20s now, so he's not going to improve that much. So, but if they don't get another striker in the door, you've got to keep him for that depth. Sam Smith, go out on loan. I wouldn't mind seeing any of our younger players, if they're good enough, going out and getting experience in the league. Remember, no loan window anymore. So it's not like the old days where when the window would shut, a week later you'd go off and sign someone on a 3-month loan. That is done. So now you have to get all your business done by 11 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, it's changing times.
Absolutely. Anyway, that is a rough little preview of deadline day. As said, by the time we watch this, we may well have gone out and signed another striker, but if not, hopefully we'll get it done. I will be back with a Tilehurst End podcast on Friday with Mark Mayo and one other person to be decided. I'll leave that as a mystery for the time being. It's not because I haven't booked a guest, honest. And of course, head over to the tilehurstend.com. Throughout deadline day, we'll have all of the latest rumours and breaking news and opinion. Do our best to break down and analyse all the potential deals. So head over to the tilehurstend.com for that. And as you can see by the little orange box, head over to patreon.com/thetilehurstend. It's how you can support us. It's our digital tip jar. If you like this video, you like what we do, like reading the website, go and stick a couple of quid in there. It's a bottle of water, it's a packet of crisps to you. It makes a big difference. Again, if 500 people chip in £2 a month, who knows what we might be able to accomplish here. So go and head over. Don't think that just because it's a small amount it won't make a difference, because it all adds up. Anyway, Ollie, thanks for joining me. I'm sure we'll be speaking again soon, either on the YouTube channel, on the podcast, and best of luck as well to Jacob South-Klein for Bushwatch 2017 Part 2. It is one of the best things about deadline day. He's a great sport about it, and he's even raised some money for charity as well. So best of luck, Jacob, from all of us here at the Tilehurst End. In the meantime, I'm Dan Wimbush. That's Ollie Allen. We'll see you later.